every one of us has reasons why we take our soul and we anchor it in beliefs that don't pay a royalty. They don't pay any royalty. In fact, they cost us. They get us into cell debt. They get us into psychic debt. Yep. They depress us. They get us into so much psychic debt we can't get out of bed. And you have to ask yourself, why do I keep believing that I'm not going to be happy, that I'm not going to meet somebody, that I'm not going, why do I do that? There's no truth to it, but you've assigned part of your soul into these belief patterns. There's absolutely no truth, but you have to ask yourself, why did I say that I can't leave here, that I won't make it? You've assigned your soul to animate that belief, to breathe your spirit into it. Here's a belief. I can't swim the English Channel. Well, I can't, right? And I have no intention of changing that. It's just fine, but it doesn't drain me because it's the truth. All right? I can't swim the English Channel. I can't swim at all, right? It doesn't faze me. So I have a belief that's very protective. I don't create my reality around it. There's no one I hate for it. I don't blame anybody for it. It's a fact of my life. Okay? All of you have that. But here's another belief. I deeply believe in miracles. For me, with God, anything is possible. Not an original thought. That's Teresa of Avila. But I absolutely know that that's the truth. So I invest my soul heavily in that truth. With God, all things are possible. I have never seen that fail. Never, never, never. I've never seen that fail. I also know that you don't tell God how to play the game of life. You don't tell the inventor how to play the game. You back off and you learn the rules. Our job is to learn the rules and play by the rules, the laws. Okay? I deeply believe. But I know people who believe healing's not possible. And they've invested in that. Now, for me, that's an illusion. That's not truth at all. All things are possible. Okay? When you are invested in something that has no truth to it, there's a reason why you're invested in that. There's a reason. When you invest in something that has no truth to it, there's a reason. And that's the thing I want you to take a look at. Like, why would you, how many of you are aware that you are superstitious? Okay. Anybody else? You won't put your hand up, you're so superstitious. Okay. What's a superstition that you have? Knock on wood. Do you actually knock on wood? And you knock on your head. And what else have I got? All right. What else? Evil eye. I'm sorry, what? Evil eye. Evil eye. Evil eye? What does that do? An evil eye protects you? Yeah. Who's evil eye? It's a Greek thing? Yeah. Who's evil eye?
It's those beings that have the
evil eye wards off the evil.
Oh, but who's evil eye? Is it somebody's evil eye? It's a symbol. Oh, right. Oh, right. Okay. Do you believe in that? Uh-huh. So wonderful. All right. What else have I got?
Don't let a black cat cross your path.
Do you really believe that? I don't want superstitions in general, children. I want ones that actually have power for you. Don't go to bed with wet hair. Well, I have two hairs and they're both split ends. I never worry about that. But do you actually believe that?
Yes.
What will happen if you go to bed with wet hair?
It's just that if you go to bed with wet hair, you'll get sick and possibly die. And there's a reason from my Chinese grandmother. Her sister did that, and it was instilled into me as a child. So it's very hard to. I just don't go to bed with wet hair.
Got it. All right. So it's become in my family, my grandparents, when they came from Europe and they were married like at age 18, right? And they opened up a grocery store in Chicago. And so they had cats to take care of the mice. You know, you can imagine all the fresh produce down in 1920. And my aunt was born. And so here's my grandmother, who's right off the farm. My elders are peasants, right? And so she's right off a farm in Poland. And they don't have cats as pets. They're working farms. All right? There's no such thing as a house pet, right? Well, the cat got up the stairs, and my aunt had just been born. She was like 3 months old or something. Now, to hear the story as it was passed down to me was with lights, cameras, action, and murder. According to my grandmother walks in and sees this black cat strangling my infant aunt in the bassinet, strangling it, and the head's going like this, and the cat's going like this. To hear my Busha tell the story, it was going like this. So my grandmother, now this I know happened, opened up the window. I don't know if any of you are from Chicago. This is on Diversey Avenue. Takes the cat and flings it out the window right into the traffic. Well, if I knew you were going to react like that, I would make up a different ending. But I grew up in a home that don't you dare bring a cat. Oh no, cats kill babies. Now I heard that from the time I was in a don't you have a cat around my kids? That's my mother. Cats kill babies. Almost killed my aunt. Almost killed my sister, right? When I moved to New Hampshire and the farm, my first winter there, someone had abandoned this cat just coming out of kittyhood. And it was freezing, and it was February in New Hampshire, right? Yeah. And so someone in the publishing company said, look at that cat's freezing. And the poor little thing was eating a grapefruit rind from the compost heap. It was starving. And I was like, right? Right? And so she looked at me, she says, take it home. And I looked at her as if she knew my whole history and everything in my head. And I said, are you kidding? Take a cat home? Ooh. And I was like, all the soup, everything. I was like, it's going to come at night and kill me and choke me. So I told her, I said, cats choke you at night. And she looks at me, she says, the hell's wrong with you? All right, this is how a superstition, this is the nonsense, right? And I was like, no. She said, you take that home. I said, no. And she said, I'm going to drop it off at you. No. Well, anyway, I end up taking this cat. I bring it in the house. This superstition had so much authority that it's in my house and I'm walking around like this. I was terrified of it. I was bloody terrified. I was terrified. And then it was frozen. It slept. I had to heat my farm with wood stove. I didn't have any other heat but wood. So it slipped under the wood stove. It was frozen. And I was like, you going to stay there? I mean, I was scared. Anyway, after a few days, I go up to my yoga class. I come down. In the February snow, you could hear your feet. And I remember that I have a cat. I hadn't named it. And I thought, I wonder where that cat is. It's freezing tonight. I said, cat. And I hear, meow. And I said, get in here. So she comes in and I looked at her and I thought, what a beautiful little thing you are. So I said, you're going to have a job around here. You're going to be my mousetrap. I called her Mousetrap. Mousetrap and I had a very happy life together. But honestly, that superstition, it lived 30 years in me. Now I am asking you to look at, and I realized part of my soul was assigned to be afraid of cats. And to think that cats do this. Imagine what we do when we assign part of our soul to think that way about human beings. All right, I'm telling you a funny little cat story. But we do that. Women aren't as smart as men. We create entire worlds around that. You create your world when you believe that. When you think, I just can't earn as much as a man, or I can't do this because I'm not a man. You've assigned part of your soul to promote the creative power of that belief. So I'm going to ask you to dive into yourself. When you realize what it is you believe, then you understand how extraordinary it is for you to actually consciously decide what to believe. Like, you know what? I'm actually going to believe that anything's possible. Instead of telling myself, oh, this can't happen, that can't happen, I could never heal of this, this could never change, that person could never forgive me, I could never forget. Instead of using you decide, you know what? I'm not going to use the word never anymore. I'm going to say anything's possible, and I'm going to invest the power of my soul into anything is possible. You see the difference here? But you actually need to know what you're invested in. So I'm going to ask you to go for your superstitions in this next exercise. Identify superstitions that have authority over you. Identify, and here's my question to you. Name 3 things that are possible in your reality and 3 things that are not. In my reality, for example, I know angels talk to me. I don't believe it. I don't hope it's true. I know it's true. I have never once said to myself, I must be crazy. I think you're crazy. I think other people are suffering because they don't know what it's like to have that connection, and they long for it. They long for it. They'd give anything to have that connection. So I know it's real. So and what's the difference between me and you? It's faith. It's not that I'm anything special. Not at all. That's the last thing. The difference is I know it's truth. And I'm not afraid. I don't expect an angel to say, okay, you're going to lose all your money and now you have to be poor because that's what heaven wants. And that's a superstition. That's garbage. That's bullshit. Okay. I also know anything can be healed. I don't believe it. I know it. I have invested my soul in that. I know it. I know that each of you is extraordinarily powerful. I don't believe it. I know it. So I'm asking you to take a look at what you have invested yourself in that you know is not true and that you know is truth. 3 of each. And then add this one. Name 1 ideal you would like to invest your soul in. I would like to make an investment in this higher truth. Here, for example, that all things can be mended, that all relationships can be healed, that peace can happen. I don't care what it is, but it's a higher truth. Do you need some paper?
No. Trying to figure it out.
You won't remember. You need paper and pen. How could you do? Even I can't remember, and I'm the one teaching.
I have paper. I got I think.
Do you know why I'm pretty adamant about pushing you to do this, and do it at home if you would, please, as well? is because unless you actually articulate something, nothing will change. I want you to know this for your life. That you can think about how you would like your life to change. Thinking will never help you at all. It will never, ever, ever help you unless you add action, unless you actually do something. Even if what you do is the slightest thing, but you have to change something. Here's another kind of thing of believing this illness can never be healed. Nobody can help this situation. This is another kind of belief that you people put their energy into. You anchor, you assign your soul to believe that nothing can be done, that there is no resolution. Versus something can be done. There's always something. Versus nothing.
I have a question.
Yes.
But when it comes,
Wait. Wait now. Here, honey. Right there.
Thank you. But when it comes to healing our thoughts and perceptions, that's one thing. But certain illnesses can't be healed. Do you know what I'm saying? And so in my husband's case with Alzheimer's, okay, this is a progressive thing. So while it sounds great, the reality is his brain is, the things aren't connecting, and
That's correct.
it can't. And
That's correct.
anyway, there is no medication because he has 10 hemorrhages in his head and blah blah. That being said, he has no short-term memory. I'm just saying, I believe I can go to acceptance, surrender, gratitude, all that, but he can't physically be healed, and yet maybe I have to maybe think the healing is all about our internal healing, not really thinking that we can heal, like I can heal Beth or I can heal Lorraine. We are powerless and
right.
powerful at once. There's
That's
just so
right.
many paradoxes with all of this that it is.
It is. It's exactly that. I'm telling you. Okay, the college I went to is now officially sacred ground. And it's sacred ground because the foundress was canonized the 8th American saint. And so people make pilgrimages to my college for healing because miracles come through Guerin. Her name's Guerin, Sister Guerin, Saint Guerin. And the last miracle that got her canonized was that a man who was 90% blind, not Catholic, he's coming home from the eye doctor. He was there to talk about whether they should have the surgery. The doctor said, you might gain 5%, but it's not worth the risk. All he could see was shadows and a little bit of this. He says to his wife, would you drive to that church? Because on the campus of my college is a huge, beautiful cathedral church. Not cathedral church. So they drive there. And he walks in and he knew about her and knew that she was up for canonization, and he knew the Catholic way. So he goes up there, and this was his prayer. Of course, all the doctors said nothing can be done. Nothing. What difference would it have been if it was Alzheimer's? A broken back? Blindness? It doesn't matter to heaven. His prayer was, I'm not Catholic or anything, but if you have any influence up there, I'd appreciate a word on my behalf. That was his prayer. That's all he said. He woke up in the morning, his eyes covered with that gray film with 20/20 vision, which he still has. It goes to the doctor. The doctor says, this is not possible. That's right, it's not, but it is. 2020. They end up in Rome at the Council of Miracles. And it was declared a miracle. That which is considered impossible for us. He became a Catholic, by the way, and wasn't stupid. But it is all about, in this, come over here, on this floor, there's no answer to Alzheimer's. Nothing. And to several other illnesses. That's absolutely right. And in this column, you're absolutely right. But in this one, the rules are different. The rules are different. The laws, the same laws, but they work differently because here is the caboose on the train, here's the engine. Here you're dealing with co-creation and a sense of timelessness. What makes a miracle? What made a Jesus? What made a Buddha? Jesus was, what is all of this about? Oh my God. Every time I'm talking to you about you being anchored in something, every time you pull up an anchor, you are shifting your relationship to time and space. Like I said yesterday or this morning or whenever, you are getting yourself into present time. The more you are in present time, the more light comes into you. The more light comes into you, you are more grace than you are matter. When that proportion changes, what can be healed in you will change because you've changed your spiritual chemistry and your spiritual chemistry. So while it can't be healed in this world, this is why Jesus said, stop being amazed, this is law. He was teaching law. This is the nature of the law. Which is why I always said, get yourself into present time. Get here, be forgiving, be loving. Get yourself, why? Because the benefit, the payoff is fantastic. There's nothing that can outrun the power of light. If it gets into here, it's like asking me this. Imagine that this is mist, and mist makes its way and becomes rain and water, and then it becomes ice, but it's the same substance. Are you with me? Okay. Once it's ice and you say, I can't shape it anymore. It froze as a square. And you're absolutely right. But you should have started shaping it up here when it was mist. So you have to get yourself back up to the mist. And up here, you have the authority. You go whichever way you want to blow it, and you want to blow with your heart and your mind and your consciousness and say, form this beautiful cloud. And then you guide it into formation through your heart and your prayers. And then it comes in and down here they say, how could that be? Wow. Because I did it with consciousness. I was aware what I was doing. Are you following me?
But I would like to say, though, if I understand this correctly, so we can't be responsible for anybody else's healing.
No.
Only ourselves. Only, and that's where I think the confusion can sometimes come in, because, if I say to someone, you can heal that, I sound
I'd never tell
arrogant.
someone that.
Well, okay.
I did that once. It was the biggest mistake of my life.
And so maybe, but sometimes it sounds like that.
Yes.
It like,
Look.
you can heal, these books,
Look.
you can heal anything, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, the bottom
No.
line is it seems like, from what I'm understanding, everything needs to come from a total soul connection with the divine. And you can't heal anybody else except
No.
your own self.
And not only that, in this world, on the lower level, you're going to apply logic to everything that you're going through. Right. Logic. You're going to only look at this life and this body that you're in. And you're only going to look at what you are dealing with. And what you think that you're here by yourself. and you think that your life is only about you and that you actually have been given space on this world to occupy that only you are in, you actually believe that. Because according to your five senses, which are professional liars, you can't see anything else in your space. And so you actually think that life is all about you and about your journey and about heaven explaining why things happen as they do to you. And that you deserve, and for you're worthy of an explanation. Why, my God, why shouldn't heaven explain everything to you? When in fact, the journey of life is not about us doing anything, but becoming something. The journey of life is about us becoming able to empower all and any life that we see, to leave every moment better than when we arrived, to leave every relationship better, to empower it. Part of that journey of empowerment, part of it, eventually will take each of us to a place where we are asked to carry karma that's not ours. Where we are asked to cross over here, where we are asked to carry burdens that are not ours to carry. So that the suffering that we feel, the madness we feel, the depression is not in fact ours. But we're asked to carry a thread of the psychic free radicals operating in our collective, so that they can do less harm to the collective, so that we are actually praying away, carrying away something, that processing it through our prayers and our life. It doesn't even belong to us. And it's a way of experiencing the power of love that does not have a personal target, just love. Just love. Just the power of love, without a personal target, not because you love that person, not because they're family, not because you're hoping they love you, not because you want something, just so you can witness the power of love, just so you can be a channel for the power of love. Okay, that is, and so when we are suffering, including something like collective illnesses like Alzheimer's, collective epidemics that seem to be grabbing hold of how we're aging as a species, how we're this. It's not an individual thing. It's individual and collective. And it is a journey into the monad, where a soul journeys in between worlds, a way of experiencing a level of consciousness that they can't yet access consciously because we have failed to articulate that exists. We are more comfortable with what we don't believe than what we do. We are more comfortable telling everybody what we don't believe in than what we do believe in, which doesn't stop, it doesn't stop us from what we have to experience, but it does stop the quality of the journey, because we have the journey more as frightened little agnostics than people who actually understand at some point I have to carry crises in me that have nothing to do with my life. I have to pray it through. I want to be able to recognize when that sorrow's in me and just spend a day in prayer and let it go. Another reason I don't do readings is because it is impossible for me to communicate to someone. The reason you have this is not personal. And everybody takes their life personally. What do you mean it's not personal? When in fact, the greatest thing you can do is say, there's nothing personal about my life. Instead of saying in your prayers, what's the purpose of my life? You should say, what's the purpose of life? And how do I fit into it? How does my life fit into the journey of life? That's your question. Because this life is not about you.